Just moments ago, former acting FBI Director Andrew McCabe spoke with our own Lawrence O'Donnell and weighed in on today's big New York Times story that Trump may have tried to interfere in the investigation into Michael Cohen.
It's not surprising at all, right? Especially when you're familiar with the history that we went through in May of 2017. It's not that different from asking Director Comey to just let go of the investigation of Mike Flynn. Of course, one of the crucial steps that caused us to believe that this president might, in fact, be trying to obstruct justice. So it's not surprising. The reporting in the Times today, but it is incredibly alarming, and it's something that the people in this country should be focused on, should be asking questions about.
And earlier tonight, during another interview on CNN, his book came out today. He's in the midst of this book tour. McCabe said he thought it was possible that Trump could be a Russian asset.
Do you still believe the president could be a Russian asset?
I think it's possible. I think that's why we started our investigation, and I'm really anxious to see where Director Mueller concludes that.
For more, we welcome to the conversation Shane Harris, intelligence and national security reporter for The Washington Post, and Clint Watts, a former FBI special agent and author of Messing with the Enemy, Surviving in a Social Media World of Hackers, Terrorists, Russians, and Fake News. Gentlemen, welcome to you both. Clint, given your life's work, take just a moment and reflect upon the fact that the former acting director of the FBI thinks there's a chance our president is playing for the other team.
Yeah, the idea that anyone would ever say that, particularly in the U.S. government, and even that it would be a Republican, by the way. I grew up in a red state as a Republican, in Missouri. Reagan years, Bush years, the idea that the former Soviet Union would have somebody in the White House is frightening. And so when you hear that there's a possibility, it comes with great alarm. And when you look at it, though, I don't think it was that surprising. When we've talked through all of this, there are the 3 times Russia is mentioned with relation to the firing of Comey. Rod Rosenstein takes it essentially out of the memo. He mentions it to Lester Holt. And then he brings Lavrov and Kislyak into the Oval Office, 2 Russians without U.S. media, and brings up this will relieve pressure. I think not only is it alarming, it's consistent. There's a consistent pattern that shows up there. And I don't know how the FBI, at this point, after you've already been investigating several people in the Trump campaign, 1 year later, essentially, they're coming up on this time horizon, doesn't open an investigation. There has to be great concern. What I want to know is when Rod Rosenstein and Andrew McCabe were sitting together trying to figure out, do we need a special counsel? Do we need to, what about 25th Amendment? Should I wear a wire? All these things are really alarming. So I really want to know, and I think he probably can't say, I'm hoping through the Mueller investigation we know what caused such alarm that they would take such extreme measures.
Shane, indeed, to Clint's point, when you look at the stories and the headlines contemporaneously, back then, in real time, when you hear McCabe now talk about it, it sounds, while shocking, like common sense. Of course, we had no choice but to open an investigation.
Yeah, I think that's right. In retrospect, it sounds perfectly coherent, and McCabe has really laid out all of the predicates in the way you would expect an FBI investigator to do that led ultimately to opening that investigation. I know as a reporter covering this period when Comey was fired and we were catching sort of flashes and fragments and reflections of information that were coming out, we were asking many of the same questions and finding them almost unbelievable that we were asking whether the president of the United States might be compromised in some way. I remember in that meeting that he had with Kislyak and Lavrov in the Oval Office, he disclosed a vital source of intelligence that was given to us by an allied government about ISIS bomb making in Syria. And intelligence officials I spoke to at the time were beside themselves. They could not understand why in this meeting that already struck them as ill-advised because there were no Americans present, the president of the United States was disclosing classified sources and methods of intelligence to a hostile government. It was almost unbelievable. It still is in many respects, but looking back, it does make a lot of sense that the FBI chose to go down the path that it did.
Think of it this way. The pictures we just showed of our president that day in the Oval Office, we have those photos courtesy of the Russian Foreign Ministry. Look at the photo credit in the upper left-hand corner. remarkable.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.